So in recent weeks, Sheffield Wednesday have been making national headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. For the second time in 3 months, staff and players have not been paid on time, with non-footballing staff reportedly being paid just £700 of their wages for May, and the pay disputes are still ongoing. The club have cited cash flow issues as the reason for some of these delayed payments, but this is a real issue that Sheffield Wednesday are now facing going into next season in the Championship. It could have a serious knock-on effect for the transfer activity that they're allowed to do. They could be hit by a potential embargo, even a point deduction if this gets even worse. So in today's video, we're going to be exploring Sheffield Wednesday, what's going on behind the scenes right now, and how that could potentially influence them going into next season. Sheffield Wednesday fans, I'd love to get your verdict on everything that's going on at your club in the comments down below. There never seems to be a dull day at Hillsborough at this point in time, does there? So Dejvan Chansiri is the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, and understandably so, a lot of the anger is being directed in his direction right now. Now, in terms of a brief history of Chansiri at Sheffield Wednesday, he took control of the club in 2015 and had serious ambitions of getting Wednesday to the Premier League, and the early signs, there were gleams of hope there. They made the playoff final in 2016, in 2017 they came close to promotion again, but could only make it to the semi-finals. But then since that point and rolling the dice for Premier League promotion, it's been quite a steep decline. With debts racking up, some questionable managerial appointments and sackings at different times, a risky financial strategy, and all of that being coincided with a strained relationship with the fans, it's been a turbulent few years at Sheffield Wednesday of late, to say the least. If you go back to the 2019/20 season, you'll remember Sheffield Wednesday being deducted 12 points that season. That was later reduced to 6. That was because they breached the EFL's profit and sustainability rules, and ultimately that point deduction proved to be fatal. Sheffield Wednesday were relegated to League One that season. A large contributing factor to that point deduction was because Wednesday made the decision, or at least attempted to, sell Hillsborough back to themselves in a sort of clever accounting move that would paper over the cracks of some of their losses in recent years. Ultimately, the EFL deemed that inappropriate. They were hit with the point deduction and then years of instability since that point. Then after a few seasons in League One, they've managed to claw themselves back to the Championship, and after a miraculous escape in their first season back at this level, it seemed like Wednesday were onto something good, especially with Danny Roll and a good solid group of players as well. They made steady progression in the Championship last season, finishing mid-table, but now this has come up and could absolutely set the club back to square one once again. So amid all the chaos going on behind the scenes at the club right now, something that's also equally as uncertain is the future of manager Danny Roll. Now, he's been linked with several jobs over these last few months, and I mean, right now you can hardly blame him for looking for a way out. Wednesday fans would probably argue that Roll has been eyeing up a few jobs before any of these cash flow issues have popped up in recent months, and that's a totally valid point, by the way. But Roll's had interest from clubs both in England and Germany in recent weeks, but nothing has come of those links in the end. But what is clearly happening is Roll's eyeing up other opportunities right now. You can hardly blame him for that, like I say, and that only adds to the instability of Sheffield Wednesday heading into next season. Now, the fact that players and staff aren't being paid on time, it all is leading up to what could be a bit of a disaster waiting to happen. So as a result of the delayed payments, the EFL have come out with this statement recently. Sheffield Wednesday Football Club has been charged with multiple breaches of EFL regulations relating to payment obligations. The owner of Sheffield Wednesday has also been charged with causing the club to be in breach of EFL regulations despite his commitment to fund the cash requirements of the club. All charges relate to both the ultimate beneficial owner and the club failing to meet their obligation to pay player wages on time and in full in March and May 2025. The club and Mr. Chansiri have 14 days to respond to the charges. We've also had Sheffield Wednesday coming out with their own club statement, with Sheffield Wednesday acknowledging the statement issued by the EFL on Tuesday afternoon. The club continue to seek a resolution regarding outstanding salaries for the month of May at the earliest possible opportunity. Mr. Chansiri sincerely apologises to all players, coaches and staff affected and everyone connected with the club. We will make no further comment at this time. So what are the potential punishments that Sheffield Wednesday could face going into next season because of this late payment fiasco? Well, according to the EFL's rules, any club that fails to pay players or staff within 30 days of the due date could face a transfer embargo. So obviously that would restrict Sheffield Wednesday in the players they're able to sign. How strict the embargo is would be at the discretion of the EFL. We have seen them implemented previously. We'll go over a few examples later in the video. Another punishment that Sheffield Wednesday could be hit by is a point deduction, and that would be for repeated or serious breaches. Usually point deductions are handed out when a club is deemed to have gained an unfair sporting advantage on their competitors, or, and this would apply to Sheffield Wednesday in this case, persistently fail to meet financial obligations. And then the third option that the EFL could go down in terms of potential punishments for Sheffield Wednesday and the owner is fines and ultimately disciplinary hearings and things like that. An independent disciplinary panel could be brought on to deal with this, and it would be at their discretion to impose either financial penalties or further restrictions and sanctions depending on how serious this is and how long this actually continues for. In terms of some previous examples that we've seen of this in the EFL, I'm sure you'll all be familiar with Macclesfield Town and their case. After failing to pay players on multiple occasions, they were hit with a 17-point deduction in the end. That was cumulative over several different hearings, and ultimately that led to their liquidation in 2020. On the back of Southend United having repeated delays in paying wages and taxes on times, they've been subject to multiple transfer embargoes since 2019. And then you've also got the obvious examples of obvious, financial mismanagement at clubs the likes of Bury and Oldham Athletic, and we can see how disastrously that can end up. Ultimately, there's multiple different ways that the EFL can approach this, and we won't sort of know the severity or seriousness of it all until we know that Sheffield Wednesday have at least paid those staff and those players the wages that they are due for. And we'll wait and see how long those delay payments actually are and whether or not this continues into the next few months and into the actual season. One thing that is obvious, even if all of this is magically, worked out over these next few days and weeks, is that this is going to seriously put players off from signing for Sheffield Wednesday for this upcoming season, even if there is a bit of a magic wand that's waved by Chansiri somehow over these next few weeks. A transfer embargo looks like it could be a strong possibility. Like I say, that will seriously hinder Sheffield Wednesday going into next season. Now, in the case of Sheffield Wednesday, it certainly wouldn't be the first time that they've been placed under a transfer embargo. It's been the case in recent seasons that they've been put under them for regularly paying tax bills late. Now, what can sometimes happen is those embargoes can be lifted pretty quickly and they don't always have a massive influence on a club. But if this gets much worse for Sheffield Wednesday, and let's say they're given a multiple window embargo, like has been the case for Reading, for example, yeah, that's a serious problem for a club like Sheffield Wednesday, especially in a league as competitive as the Championship, where if you stand still, you fall behind the competition. Sheffield Wednesday already have the second oldest squad in the Championship, and let's say, for example, that Wednesday are only permitted to sign players who are free agents, who tend to be over the age of 30, the ones that Sheffield Wednesday will probably be realistic targets for them at least. That's a serious problem, and we could see Sheffield Wednesday being seriously dragged into a relegation scrap after making huge strides forward in the last campaign under Danny Röhl. With the amount of clubs that he's been linked with, I know he's not landed any job right now, but I'd be seriously surprised if he's still the Sheffield Wednesday manager come the first game of next season. I think there probably will be more departures between now and the start of the campaign as well, and I really do feel for Sheffield Wednesday, one of the most historic clubs in the Championship, and someone in their sort of the stature of that club definitely should be battling at the top end of it to get out of the Championship and into the Premier League. But going into next season, yeah, it feels like they'll probably be at the opposite end of the table, especially if these issues do persist. But I'd be interested to get your guys' take on all of this in the comments down below. Sheffield Wednesday fans, I'm particularly interested to hear from you guys as well. We'll try to keep you guys updated on this story as it develops on the channel. We'll be speaking about Sheffield Wednesday quite regularly, I'd imagine, over the summer. So if you do want to keep up to date with everything going on at the club, make sure to stick around and subscribe. Other than that, that will wrap it up for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.